I've always loved maps. Back in the era when gas stations gave them away free, my aunts and uncles would collect all they could on their vacations and drop them off at my house. By the time I was in 8th grade, I had 1,000 highway maps. Today, in the era of the GPS, I still bring maps along, and for a good reason. You see, a GPS can give you a great view of the area around you, but it won't show you the big picture. Consider this. You're driving across southern Indiana with a GPS. In normal usage, the unit gives you this view of US 50. If you had a map of the state, you'd see the big picture and have a better understanding of where you are and where you're going. I bring this up because I was daydreaming today about my childhood and one of the myriad trips my family took from Washington, Indiana to Washington, D.C. My dad had 3 brothers there, and there was always something to do. We usually followed mostly 2-lane old US 40. It replaced the nation's first interstate highway, the old National Road. For most of it, 40 sat on top of the old highway, but if you knew where to look, you could often find abandoned segments of the old National Road. A lot of the driving was spent crossing Ohio. When highway planners opted to replace 40 with Interstate 70, they decided to put 70 not on top of 40, but beside it. That meant in many cases, year after year, I got to see more and more of the interstate being built. During the summer of 1960, we got to drive on the first new segment in Ohio, a 21-mile stretch between Gratiot and Kirkersville. Since Old 40 was already 4-lane from Kirkersville to Columbus, the engineers simply bent 70 over to 40 on a 1-mile diagonal extension. That connector would only be used for a decade. It would become a 2-lane portion of Ohio 158, and 70 would be extended straight west toward Columbus. The connection with the diagonal was erased. At Gratiot, I-70 was built just inches from Old 40. There were ramps connecting the two. When 70 was finished eastward, the ramps were torn up. Today, there's not even a trace. And since the new road was built in sections, in the 60s we would drive for a while on Old 40, then be shunted over to I-70 for a while, and then back to 40. I got to see I-70 in Ohio built one section at a time. By 1970, all of 70 across Ohio was finished. The tunnel at Wheeling, West Virginia was done. It took the road under the city. Old 40 went up through a neighborhood on top and back down the other side. Ohio was so proud that it put a welcome arch on eastbound 70 at the Indiana border. It is possible to still drive the old road. I've done it numerous times. It's slower, but you actually see something while you drive. What memories of a wonderful childhood, watching the interstate system grow as I myself was growing older. I'm Dennis Daly.